Alright, here we are in week 8. We're continuing with the SnowGlobe project, and in this tutorial I want to show you how to extract something in preparation to texture it. So last week we talked about smoothing. You can hit 1, 2, 3 and see how your polygonal objects look smooth. As I extract part of a smooth object, it's going to change the geometry some. I want you to notice that this profile curve is smooth here, but I'm going to go to the side view and take and extract this middle band by going into face, hit 1 to see that. Select that, go to edit mesh, extract. Now this middle band is its own object, leaving what was left is still as its original object. But you notice if I click and hit 3 and click and hit 3, now this has a very sharp hard corner, and that is because the edges of a polygonal object border edges are going to be hard even when you smooth them. So just remember that. Alright, now I want to talk about texturing. I know a lot of you are interested in learning more about that. In order to apply a picture or an image to the face of your object to begin texturing in that way, we have to prepare something called a UV map. Every object has a map where it takes these faces that make up that model and it tries to unfold them in a way that they can lay flat. You're taking faces that are in 3D and trying to lay them so in 2D because images are 2D, right? So to demonstrate that, I want to just create a cube. Now this cube has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces. All cubes do. and but they're arranged in 3D space. One's facing X, one's facing Y, one's facing negative Y. But I need to basically cut this and unfold it in a way that it can lay flat. And by default, a cube does that. And if I go to Windows, UV Editor, and Maya, you can see a UV map. Now, a UV map is put in UV texture space, just as you have X, Y, Z in 3D coordinate system. Texture space is U and V. And I could be wrong, but I'm guessing it's U and V. If it's anything like the X and Y graphs that we worked with in mathematics in high school, right? But now each one of these faces, if I go into face mode, has been laid out on this in this UV map and unfolded in a way where it lays flat. So this one is connected to this one here, and this is great. I could take this and I could do what's called a UV snapshot, and I'm going to save that to my desktop as UV snap and hit OK. And I have to select an object and hit OK. I'm going to bring this up in Photoshop. I realize you guys don't have Photoshop or may not. And you see this is my UV map. I'm going to invert that, and in my layers here I'm going to make this so it's not a background layer, create a new layer, and I'm going to multiply and lock this one. That way I can draw on this and still see my lines. So this represents the faces in Maya. So I'm going to go and say, this is A, B, C, D, And if you go out of bounds, it's okay. So what we've done is we've gone to Maya and we've taken its UV map. We created a snapshot, brought it in, and now I can paint whatever I want on each one of those faces. And I'm going to save this as map. And I'm just going to save it as a JPEG or something small. Alright, map on my desktop. Okay, and I'm going to close this out. And now in Maya, if I go to this material, assign new material, and just create a new Lambert, and on the color of that Lambert, I'm going to place a file, and in that file I'm going to find on my desktop that map I just made. I open it, and here it is. It's applied to my cube. So I have made a texture for that map, and the way it does that is it takes these faces in 3D, it unfolds them. Now I can edit this in the UV texture editor, so let's play with that for a second. Modify, no, where were we? UV texture editor. So I select this object, and I wonder if I can. All right, I like this. This allows you to see the image that you have applied. And I think the bottom one kind of ghosted out a little bit so you can see it. So we could start moving these things around. So suppose this face right here, suppose I wanted this to be D. Well, if I select it and start moving it, it's stuck. This edge is sewn to this edge. It's the same edge. But you notice as I move it around, it starts messing up everything else because this is no longer a square, and it's taking everything that was in here. Where is that one? And it's making what's in this parallelogram now fit into this square, and you start getting weirdness. Okay, so if I want to just undo here. I could select this edge, and there's a razor blade up here called the cut or separate. I could cut it there. I could cut it there. I could cut it here. I'm just going to cut a lot of these up here. So now if I think this allows me to move this around. So whatever was A, I want to undo. Suppose I wanted that to be D. I'm moving that face anywhere on the screen. So it can become whatever I want. However, notice what happens when I begin scaling it. Let's go back here. As I begin to scale down, and all the keys that work, like move, scale, rotate, also work in your UV texture editor. So I can hit R to scale. As I scale down, my image gets bigger. That seems counterintuitive, but if you think about it, this becomes the limit. So you see that A there, so as I scale down, it's zooming in. I can scale out, and I could even show my, the larger I get, it starts copying this whole thing. It repeats once it's anything outside the box, it just repeats that box again. So, and notice if I scale in where this was a square, if I start beginning to make it a rectangle, notice how it squishes and distorts it. So it's really important that the face in your Maya scene has the same aspect ratio as the face in your UV texture editor, because if this one is a rectangle and this one is a square, you start getting distortion and stretching. Alright, and it takes a second to wrap our heads around that, but just notice if this is square, we want these to match. But this is meant to be an introduction. We don't get too much in that, but I want you to know how to, you can save a snapshot, you can create an image and bring it back in here. So what does that have to do with our thing here? Well, we created a cube and our map was perfect, but if we go and we select this band that we've created and extracted and look at its UV editor, we already know we're going to have problems. Look at here, these are tall and skinny, and each one of these are short and wide. So if we were to apply, oh, here we go, display checkered tiles. If we were to apply a checkered tiles to it, notice they are distorted. Those are supposed to be square, and they're not. They're long rectangles. We could even, this is the default checker that can apply in the UV texture editor to help you. So our goal would be, how can we make each one of these faces match the aspect ratio of the face that's in their model? And to do that, I'm just going to click this and go up to UV, and I'm going to do a cylindrical layout. And as I do it, it remaps these, but you notice they're still long and tall. But after that, I'm going to go to a polygon and unfold. And as I do that, notice it connected all of those in the bottom, and look, they're first of all, it fit them all in this 0 to 1 space, and then it made each one of those faces wide like this. Now this probably won't work on other objects. This just happened to work with this particular object, but the idea is to get all of your object within this 0 to 1 space at the same aspect ratio, and in a way that you minimize seaming. So as many faces as you can connect with each other, you want to. That way, so we can move this. Let's see. I'm going to move this up to the center here. I guess it doesn't matter where it is, but you notice that those are indeed square. I could begin to scale this and see how these are perfect squares. So now if I were to go and create an image in Photoshop and bring it in here, it would not be stretched. So I'm going to jump back so it's in the 0 to 1 space. And now that this is properly UV'd, I want to go and create a bump map of bands for this. I'll do that in the next video.